I just think we all try to have this facade, right? We really try to output our best self all the time, and I just think it creates an inauthentic culture. That's right.
So guys, we've been excited about this today. I've actually been privy to seeing some of it in the office, and he shows me these little snippets and everything. But like you today, this is the first time I've had an opportunity to have it actually in my hands and see it and read through it, and I'm excited. I'm going to probably spend my weekend reading on it this weekend. So guys, I really thank you for being here today, and thank you for being here for Joe. He's a good guy. He's really been a great person for me. I do work with him, and he is helping me organize some thoughts and kind of keeping an old guy in line. And so I am in the business world, and I do a lot of things, I've been doing it for so long, it's kind of hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And I really appreciate Joe kind of helping me narrow my focus and get things in there the way they're supposed to be. But we're here today for Joe. I don't really want to talk about myself, but he told me to kind of introduce myself. I am Vernon. They call me the Short-Term Pro. I'm the owner of stakeating.com, and I also have my own coaching and consulting business, and Joe's helping me kind of launch that, and I just want to say thank you for that today.
Yeah.
And thank you for letting me be a part of this honor today, to be one of the first 3 or 4 people that got the book signed today.
Yeah.
So Joe, today, the reason we're here today is we just, I think everyone in the room pretty much somewhat knows you, but for the folks out there that don't know you, tell us a little bit about Joe and a little bit of your history and why we're sitting here today.
Sure. This is so for the camera.
Absolutely.
I know everybody here is so good.
Absolutely.
This is great though. So everybody pretty much knows me here, but if you don't know where I'm from or a little bit of that stuff, I grew up in Johnson City. I was born in Scotland. Most people should know that. Some people may not. I don't know. I was born in Scotland. We moved to Iowa, Wisconsin growing up. I grew up with Josh right there and 4 other brothers and a sister, and I said 3 other brothers and a sister. That's the better way to say that. That's right. That's correct. We grew up doing sports and being crazy and doing hard stuff, and so then I went to UT, and a lot of people know I sold books door to door. So there's some people here, Ted and Mike and Zach and Josh, who also sold books too at the same company. And in fact, Zach is in the book in the introduction, and I thought about having Zach up here, by the way, to interview me, but I didn't want to, simply because I wanted to see him smile and just tell him how important he is to me and how much he's changed my life. Because he is the entire story of, I believe, the introduction. So when you read in there and you read about this guy named Zach, it's that man right there. I remember meeting Zach at a retreat when I was a freshman in college, and I was doing accounting and finance or whatever, and I had signed up to do this crazy door-to-door sales internship, and Josh and I were trying out for a semi-pro soccer team, so I wasn't all in. But I remember meeting him. He was so suave and so cool, and just a really, really nice guy, and I remember that trip really solidifying that was something I wanted to do. And I went and sold books the first summer as a freshman, and Zach is the only person I've ever seen. He's the only person who's ever actually showed me how to sell books, and I did it for 7 years. And so I sell probably very similar to him. Yes, and there's this whole story in the book, man, about just hitting a wall. You hit walls and stuff, and I just think that there's runner's walls, anything you do, right? There's a million things, and I just think I hit my wall, and Zach was there to watch me hit the wall, which is cool. And I think he's such a great leader to basically walk me through my wall, I guess, or whatever, in a way that just has really changed my life. And throughout a lot of the book, I like to mention different stories and people and some studies and just philosophies that have really set me up on a path that God just has it on my heart to just go and think are wild. I had an old friend, real old friend from high school, message me on Instagram today, or not Instagram, or Facebook or something, and he was like, "Hey man, it's been like a decade or something." I used to work at this little Jack City Grill, tiny little, you know what I'm talking about? Because Anna went to high school with us, by the way. You worked there? I worked there. Did you know that? That's a small world. But there's this guy that he was just like, "Hey, why'd you write a book or whatever?" And there was some sort of how can you write a book kind of thing in the text, which is sort of made me smile or whatever. And I think that's the whole point. That's kind of the whole point of writing it, is that who cares? I don't, who cares how being young and doing stuff is there's no limit, And I think when you're older too, I have a chapter in the book It's called the law of diminishing potential. And it's this idea, and most people think when they read that, I had my editor read that, and she thought it was going to be like, oh, you get older, you have less potential, and all this kind of stuff. But that's not really what I believe. I actually think when you're older, you're more effective. You have connections, right?
Hope so. Absolutely.
You could spend probably an hour, doing something with the right people because you've built this, these connections and accomplish what it would take an 18-year-old that's going to bash their head against the wall doing the wrong thing. An hour, it might take them 6 weeks. And so there's no limit to where you could really end up if you focus on the right things. So I think just for the camera and my background and stuff, it's like, I don't know. I just want my life to be a story that reflects Christ and inspires people to do bigger things. Because I'm a big believer that in our society, culture, anywhere you go, there's just this, I like to call it the cynic within, or what I really truly believe it's more like the devil. But this sort of cynic within just tells you there's no reason you can't, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not good looking, you can't, why start that, you'll probably fail. And I just think there's that inner dialogue, which in this book I basically call the problem with potential, that holds you back. And if you allow it to basically scream louder than you telling it to shut up, then it'll eventually consume you and your ability to do things. So I guess that's my background a little bit. I own a company and do consulting and stuff.
Absolutely.
They can go, if your camera stuff, go to my website or whatever. But
Right.
So yeah, thanks. There you go. I'll end that now.
No
that
problem.
ramble.
So, writing a book is really hard. I mean, you basically have been talking about it. So, tell us why you did it. I mean, throughout the process, I know it's probably been a challenge, but really, why? I mean, why did you write this?
Yeah. So, oh man. To think of a moment that was like, oh, I'm going to write this, like I really don't recall what that moment was. I remember writing when I was 19, I want to write 5 books. Like that was probably the moment. It was like, okay, I'm going to write 5 books, had one of those Southwestern goal setting things, right? And I don't know, I think I just started to recruit a lot, and I was a young district sales leader. I was 23, 24, and I was building things, and I think I just found myself saying things, and then people that didn't even matter their age kind of just raised their eyebrows or something, like, wow, that was really helpful, thank you so much. And people were just asking me to like teach them stuff, and I'm like young, and I'm like, okay, sure, and I think I just got to this point where I was just frankly repeating myself a lot, and so I was like, well, I can't do this for more than 35 people, so maybe I should write this down.
Sure.
So there was I read some book called The Dip, I think. It sort of just opened up my mind to, you can only impact in person a certain number of people because you have 24 hours. And if you really want to change the world and help more people than you'll ever be able to actually meet or talk to, you need to be building stuff that does that. So I think that's probably what wrote it. I think I was in Michigan. I think I got snowed in. I think, Danielle, if you remember, I got snowed in one time. It was like an extra 4 days or something. I don't remember. But I just started writing. I literally just puked on a page of like 40,000 words.
Wow.
Of just nonsense. I think I deleted half of it that it didn't even make it into the book. But I was just repeating, what I told people. So, and I just wanted to help. That's the biggest thing. I just wanted to do something meaningful.
Okay.
I'm an analytical, so I just want to make sure I wasn't spending time doing something I didn't really care about.
Sure. So it wasn't really it wasn't like a spiritual epiphany or anything like that. It was more of a you just basically said to yourself one day, let me put this all down. And I think a lot of people are going to be helped by it. It's where I'm heading with this.
Yeah.
And so really, did you have a target in mind when you started writing the book?
No, I don't.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, if you put a camera behind me for how I wrote this book, it would be the complete wrong way to do it. Like, I've always been a person of action. You can ask friends, family, whatever. It's just I kind of just jump in sometimes and don't. Does it have to be perfect? Is just never something that I've. You can ask my wife about cleaning up the house too. It's just just go for it. And it'll work itself out. I think the name and everything came after I wrote 40,000 words.
Right.
I think the subtitle came 3 weeks ago or something. All of this stuff. It's just yeah, but I just went for it, you know.
Good. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Now, you've talked a little bit about Danielle, and I know that a support system's super important. I don't want to put you on the spot and make it,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever, but tell me about your support system. I mean, how has she supported you through all of this?
Yeah, so Danielle, it's a little secret about Danielle. She didn't want anybody to know, but I'll tell you, everybody. This woman's a good writer.
Yes.
She probably got how many like hundreds of blog things she's written. Like, she's got sort of this secret Word doc thing that she's just such a good writer, you know. So she is an incredible support and inspired me to do it. She wrote her book, and she's like, I'm just going to go do it. She had this thing written, I think, for years called Lily's Story. It helps kids in foster care. It's all the proceeds and stuff. So I think that just inspired me to do it. So thanks, babe.
Right.
You know, and then I think through the whole thing, I think it was last Saturday night, I was trying to make one last little edit for this book or whatever. So I'm trying to upload it for the 11:59 deadline. It doesn't work. The tech specs don't work. It ended up working out this morning, which is great, but it was just nonsense. You know, I'm up till 12:30 on the phone with Amazon and stuff, and she's like nice to me, even though I'm pretty crazy and not letting her sleep by talking on the phone. You know, 12:30 or whatever. So she just lets a lot of that stuff go. So I just really appreciate that about her, and she's just encouraging about making it happen and getting the coffee and doing all the little things behind the scenes that she doesn't want any credit for, but she deserves it. So.
Great. That's awesome. I think that's super, super important to have a good support system behind you, and I can see it today while I'm here. That's very special to me to see this dynamic today because I've never met Danielle before today, so I just wanted to make sure that you got a chance to talk about that because I know that's super, super important. So in this book, in writing this book, I mean, do you have like a favorite chapter or something that you've written in here or something that really resonates with you personally?
That's just a good question. I mean, it all resonates with me personally. I don't know. I really like. I think I really like the cynic chapter, and there's one about belief. I did a bunch of research in this book. You know, you have all these sort of, oh, this is what I believe and this is what I do, and sometimes we sort of just base it off what people say. And in writing a self-help book or something that's going to go out to people you don't know, it's like that doesn't actually like work. You know, there's got to be some stuff. And I don't know. There's just so many studies I was reading, but there's one called the sand flea experiment. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it before. Charles has. Maybe we've talked about it. I don't know. Or maybe you know about it before. But basically, there's these scientists, you know, they put some fleas in this little jar. It's 6 inches, and they can normally jump like 6 feet or something wild, right? They put them in there for whatever number of days, 10, 20 days or whatever. They get conditioned to a certain height of this jar, and they let them out, and they never jump more than 6 inches the rest of their life. So I think human beings do that all the time. Man, and the how to get out of that sort of limit, probably one of the most wild experiences that you could ever go through, because it just, belief is a really interesting thing. There were some studies that I was reading through and put in the book about how our brains just like conditioned towards a certain way of thinking. It's psychologically proven that when you have a negative experience, you will remember it way more often than a positive experience, right? And so just like the sand flea, you hit your head on the top of the jar, you know, you easily and quickly give up. And I think that happens a lot with the friends that we spend our time with. So there's a chapter called The Hierarchy of Friendships. It all connects, you know. And it's about how, you know, we surround ourselves with certain people, we start acting certain ways, you know, and how it's okay to just kind of let go of some toxicity, you know, in your relationships in life. But yeah, I think the belief at the end of the day is probably my favorite chapter.
Okay, great. You were talking to someone earlier about the cover, and I think it's very telling. What, you know, I understand this being in the business world or whatever, but you said there's a concept behind this.
Oh yeah. I worked with this guy named Mike Trent. He's awesome, and he did all the designs and stuff. I didn't make this, but he came up with this whole idea of like problems and time and potential. With Sisyphus, it's a Greek character who he goes to hell or something and has to like push a rock up and down. It always falls. And I think that's how a lot of people feel when they try stuff, when they jump out of their comfort zone, when they do something different. And I think that a lot of times people feel like, man, why would I do anything? Because it's not going to amount to anything big. And that's called nihilism. It's this idea that what we do doesn't matter. You know, and I think Sisyphus probably feels that. So that's really where that came from. And there's a chapter in there called Butterfly Effect, which most people I hope probably have heard about in here, but it's how, the small things you do actually make a massive ripple, and you don't have to be the person in front of everybody to make a big difference. And there's plenty of stories that I put in that chapter about the small guy, the guy who's you never heard about before, makes that one comment to one person that leads to, and the story goes to how Billy Graham actually becoming an evangelist and stuff, which is pretty wild. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Right. Yeah, you shared
that blows my mind.
Yeah, you shared that story with me one time about that. It's amazing, just like one little action or one thing that you do, some small little detail that you don't even maybe think anything about, how it affects so many people. It's a big undertaking to write a book. You had intentions when you wrote this for this to be mass produced, and for me, you and I've talked about. I'm kind of a visionary. I see the big picture, but I don't quantify the details and work on that. You kind of have a little bit of both, which I can really appreciate that. You have a big vision, but you also quantify results, and you have different, you have systems and processes and things like that. You're really good at that sort of thing. So when I start looking at this, I'm like, I overthink all the time. I mean, most people in our lives, I guess a lot of people in here are always overthinking. So, this stands out to me. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that people do when they overthink. My situation and that sort of.
Yeah.
I don't want you to share any of that, but
Sure.
But,
yeah.
so anyway,
Vernon, every time he comes in.
Right. Exactly.
Great. We all overthink, right? Things I overthink isn't like what should I do in business, which other people do. Sometimes it's like, what do I wear? Because I feel weird about my hair or something, right? I think I'm getting a slow bald spot on the right side, right? It's like that's the stuff I overthink about,
Sure.
and other people, overthink different things. But it always comes down to just worrying too much about what other people think. I put it in the book. It's called The Herd Mentality. And, we're psychologically as human beings predisposed to want to fit in with everyone, which is just so interesting. It doesn't make sense. It's almost paradoxical to success, because in order to be successful, you sort of have to stand out. Right? It's almost the definition of success, isn't it? Standing out in some way that's valuable to you, right? It doesn't have to be financial success, obviously. It could be being a good speaker or helping kids or whatever it is, right? And so in order to do usually what we want, we kind of have to not be the same as everyone else. And I think that's terrifying, to everybody, myself included. So that's why overthinking happens, in my opinion.
I think analysis by paralysis, is that the phrase? It's
yeah,
like you just overthink so many things, and you worry about what people think, you worry about the consequences, and I think fear has held me back in my life many times, and I've done a lot of things that I think are great, and my goal every day is to try to, present myself in the best light I can, and try to be the best human being I can be. And sometimes even that can get a little skewed, and it can be a little self-serving. And sometimes people kind of see you as like whatever, not you, but they see us as sometimes when we're raising above, or everyone gets haters, everyone gets kind of these people around them that kind of just we were talking about yesterday in the office with the folks that were there, of how sometimes people do great things, and then all of a sudden things start happening, people start talking, the internet starts lighting up, and social media. So you can't let all that kind of affect you, and I think so many people start overthinking it, and they start getting to that point before they even get started. So there's a failure to launch or a failure to get started because they've sat around and they've been overthinking the whole process or whatever. So I know about the way you've helped me, but really, what's some things that you've done to really can you talk about some folks that you've helped without mentioning names, or how you've seen people make some changes in their lives, and see how they've grown, or they've progressed a little bit, just from some people that you've helped?
Just by overthinking less?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I won't do names. I've worked with a lot of different people. There's been some rookie salespeople I've worked with that, and again, these numbers won't make sense to some people, but sold basically nothing their first year to being a 4,000 or 5,000 unit producer, walking 2 summers beforehand to just changing things up. Like, it's just, I work with a lot of clients. I have friends too. It's just it's so simple, like action's usually the answer. It's like, it really gets that simple. If you just go do stuff, you almost always find that it's easier than you thought. It's more rewarding than you thought. and that you're better than it and can improve. If you just kind of commit and go all in. I don't know how many people that has hit. I'm sure. Hopefully, people will tell me.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, they'll message me and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It all has to do with overthinking. The analysis by paralysis as well. I just think letting go of just being perfect. Like when I go do these talks, it's just like I always say, done's better than perfect every single time. I just think we all try to have this facade, right? We really try to output our best self all the time, and I just think it creates an inauthentic culture.
Sure.
Right, and then we all get jealous.
Right, it's sort of
inauthenticity.
the human highlight reel is what we show on social media.
Yeah.
And that's the person we want to project to the world. And it's easy sometimes, I think, to even overthink that and think that everything's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
No one feels like anyone else struggles. No one feels like anybody else has any problems because they don't ever hear about that stuff. And so when you're in the position that you're in and you're a leader to men, tell me a little bit about like your core values to that. Like what are some of your core values of how you operate as a human being on this earth?
Yeah, man, that's a good question.
I know your faith, of course.
Big Jesus guy. Go Jesus.
Yes.
So I don't know. When I think about my values, it's just like Christ-filled, Holy Spirit-filled, all that kind of stuff. And I think one of my favorite. I'm just a big believer in that our words really do impact people. That butterfly effect. I mean, you can think that nothing you do matters, which I think is a very pessimistic way to go throughout life, or you can think everything matters. And I think there's a responsibility that comes through when you think that everything matters. And so we all make mistakes and stuff, and I'm definitely no perfect person, but I think my top value that I always want to embody is just being relentlessly encouraging. I just think that sometimes people just need a break. This might be a hot take, but I really enjoyed this movie called The Joker. Have you guys seen The Joker? I don't know. It's a pretty sad movie, but it's basically about the Joker where he just goes through and he just like never gets a break. He just never gets a break, and he just sort of snaps at the end because it's a DC comic thing. And I just don't want to be the person that never gives somebody a break, because I just think when you get a break, it's like everything opens up. So how can we give people a break? How can we go on the other side and think, why is this person acting this way? And my wife had me read this really good book because she's social work, and we have kids and hosts and some things like that. Called what's that book called? What Happened to You? What happened to you? What happened to you? It's a really good book. Everybody should read it. It's about like kids' trauma in some ways and understanding that. But I think it's a good concept for everybody. Everybody acts in a certain way, not because they are that way, but because they're reacting to a certain circumstance that they had. So instead of saying, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" which a lot of people do, it's more like, "Hey, what happened to you?" Right? And I think coming around that and just understanding that they may not get encouragement. Like if you take let's say like somebody's being prideful or something, it's like they probably just don't get complimented ever. Like that's probably why they're doing that. They're not a terrible person. They probably have some stuff they just want to be recognized for, and they probably just have like some sort of gap in that part of their life or something. And you could put anything else that anyone struggles with, because there's also not speaking up for yourself, right? It's like it's not that you can't or that you're not worth anything. It's because you felt something like the sand flea. You hit some sort of wall, and you just decide to stay there. So.
Right. John C. Maxwell calls that the law of the lid. You can only go as high as you set that lid. Like I said, I know you and I appreciate you, and I don't know where we're doing on time today, but I really wanted to just cull from you like the nugget today. If you could give somebody, I always ask this in my podcast here, what's your nugget today for somebody? Number one, obviously go out and buy the book. Amazon, I think we said, is one of the best places to find it.
Yeah.
But what's the nugget today?
Okay, this is the nugget.
Yes,
this is a good question. All right, the nugget is this. Most books, I bet you if you go to all the self-help books in here or the business books, 90% plus will probably have something to do with money on the front, profit. I think there's one right over there. Whatever. And they always talk about, there's a lot of things that talk about like money and profit. The whole statement of this book, the whole point of this book is that if you want to reach your true potential in life, you have to be in the pursuit of helping as many people as you can. Otherwise, you will hit a barrier and a limit, and you will stop trying, you'll stop progressing, and you will become selfish. And you can see that a lot. So, if the end goal is to be comfortable, you're missing the point. You'll get there quick, and be depressed. That's what I think. Sure. So, you know, that's what this is about. Like, the whole point of reaching your potential is because you will help more people, especially if that's your goal. Otherwise, right, if the idea is, okay, I've got to go sacrifice so much time or talent or treasure or money, whatever, and I lose out on this, but it helps way more people, you're not willing to do it if you don't care about the people more than the money, more than the personal gain, right? I have a chapter at the very beginning that just talks about like cigarette companies that make billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they also kill millions and millions and millions of people, and they kill millions of people who don't smoke, you know. And so if your net benefit is you know, money and death, it's sort of missing out. What's the point? And you should do something else. you should change and go help some more people. So I think that's the negative. If you're helping people, everything comes easy. If you're helping yourself, everything seems hard.
For sure. So that takeaway today, you know, I always like to talk to folks about their heart, their passion, their why, their give back. So when you wrote this book, you said that there was really, you know, you were intentional in writing it. You really focused in on writing it. But, you know, if one thing could happen because of this book, what one good great thing would you like to see happen because of this book? Yeah,
one big great thing, I don't know, but maybe a million small things.
Okay.
A million small things, that would be great.
Okay.
You know, I think just if anybody gets inspired just a little bit, if there's just like one little chapter, one little paragraph that people internalize and utilize and inspires them to do the next good thing that helps more people, or if it can get people to zoom out from what, again, culture preaches of how can I be wealthy and safe and comfortable and retire at 35, you know, like I don't even think the goal I don't even think for me is like retirement, like great. It's like, what can we do to help people with time freedom is a different way to look at that. So if it helps people just be inspired by reading it, even for a day, to just take a step in whatever direction makes the most sense in the pursuit of helping others, then that would be great. If some miracle it gets big, and it helps a whole group of people build a community of leaders that their whole focus is helping others, that would be really what I'm going for. Bringing all those leaders together and building some sort of, you know, network. I'm a big believer that, you know, it's if you meet the right person, you can do anything. You know, if it's not who or how, who versus how, or whatever that little phrase is. You know, so if we can kind of bring people who actually want to help others together, I think that we can make the world a better place. So that would be the end goal.
The end goal. So not one big thing, but a lot of tiny little.
Yeah, I'm just a big believer in that ripple effect.
Awesome.
You know.
Awesome. Great. Okay. So, Joe, I was just going to tell you today again, thank you for what you've brought into my life and how you've helped me already in the last several months that we've known each other. And I just wanted to make sure that you understood today that I'm excited for you, and I want the blessings for you, and I want everything that comes from this to be what it is and what you really want it to be. And I hope that folks out there that are watching this and the folks in this room will go home and read this and really take that information. And then, you know, if you got questions or you need some help or you need some advice, I think he's a great person to call for advice. His youth doesn't scare me at all. As I said the first time we ever met, I'm not very coachable, and he's coached an older guy. He started getting that stuff out of me. So from our perspective today, I mean, I just know that I know his heart, and I know where he's at, and I know what his goal is and his vision is, because I've heard a lot about what he's wanting to do. And so I just wanted to be here to support that today. And I just wanted to tell you thank you for all that you've done in my life. And, you know, I think we said today Amazon is probably the best way to get your book. How else can they get in touch with you? I know that's always important for us to do that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Just go to joeignace.com. That's where you joeignace.com/the problem with potential if you want to read the story of why I wrote the book and order from Amazon.
No problem. Do you have any closing thoughts? This is your gig, so
not really. Thanks for being here, everybody. You guys are a blessing to have, and some amazing connections, and you guys are more valuable than anything else in my life. So I really appreciate friends, family, and you know that's all I care about.
Sure. Let's give him a hand.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, brother.
Yes, thank you, sir. So.